Hello everyone, thank you all for joining us today. As you can see on the screen, for our topic for today is safety law. Occupational health and safety law is a field of law that centers around the safety of employees at work. It is an area of law that creates and enforces regulations surrounding employment and labor. Occupational health and safety law is a body of law that requires employers to implement safety measures for the benefit of their employees. The purpose of occupational health and safety laws is to encourage and require safe working conditions with minimal risks for employees. It is an area of law that involves both implementing mandatory provisions created by governing authorities and undertaking voluntary risk analysis in order to ensure a safe workplace. For the purpose of this training, occupational safety, health, and working environment are standardized requirements that employers must implement in managing occupational safety at workplace for employees to work safely. Once upon receiving the training in this subject, trainees must be able to explain the essence of the occupational safety, health, and working environment. According to the Occupational Safety, Health, and Working Environment Act, which would consist of 8 chapters, with 74 sections as describing to. Chapter 1 is General Provisions, which consists of sections 6 and 7. Chapter 2 is Administration, Management and Execution of Occupational Safety, Health and Environment, which consists of section 8 to 23. Chapter 3 is Occupational Safety, Health and Environment Committee, which consists of section 24 to 31. Chapter 4 is Control, Regulation and Supervision, which consists of section 32 to 34. Chapter 5 is Safety Inspector, which consists of section 35 to 43. Chapter 6 is Occupational Safety, Health and Environment Fund, which consists of section 44 to 51. Chapter 7 is Occupational Safety, Health and Environment Promotion Institute, which consists of section 52. Chapter 8 is Penalty, which consists of section 53 to 72. And the essential section that employees should know and must following. Section 6, Section 8, Section 14, Section 16, Section 17, Section 18, Section 21, Section 22, and Section 74. For the Section 6. The detail of this section, an employer shall have the duty to arrange and maintain the establishment and its employees in safe and hygienic working conditions and environment, to support and promote the work operation of employees, in order to prevent them from harm to life, physique, mentality and health. The employees shall cooperate with the employer in the execution and promotion of occupational safety, health and environment, in order to ensure safety to the employee and the establishment. For the Section 8. The detail of this section, an employer shall administer, manage, and execute for occupational safety, health and environment matters, in conformity with the standards prescribed in the ministerial regulations. In setting the standards, any documents or reports as required to be prepared by the employer shall be examined or certified by a person or a juristic person, as prescribed in the ministerial regulations. And the employee shall have the duty to comply with the criteria on occupational safety, health and environment, in accordance with the standards prescribed. The ministerial regulations, in Section 8, of the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Environment Act, which consists 8 of ministerial regulation, that can describing to as follows. 1. Ministerial Regulation on the Standard for Administration and Management of Occupational Safety, Health and Environment, in relation to fire prevention and control. 2. Ministerial Regulation on the prescribing of standard for administration and management of occupational safety, health and environment, in relation to hazardous chemicals. 3. Ministerial Regulation on the prescribing the standard for the Center of Basic Firefighting Training and the Institute of Firefighting and Fire Evacuation Practice. 4. Ministerial Regulation on the prescribing of standard for administration and management of occupational safety, health and environment, in relation to electricity. 5. Ministerial Regulation on the prescribing of standard for administration and management of occupational safety, health and environment in relation to heat, light and noise. 6. Ministerial regulation on the standard for administration and management of occupational safety, health and environment in relation to fire prevention and control in number 2. 7. Ministerial regulation on the prescribing of standard for administration and management of occupational safety, health and work environment in confined space. 8. Ministerial regulation on the prescribing of standard for administration and management of occupational safety, health and environment in relation to diving work.
Hazardous chemicals are frequently used in the workplace as raw materials, solvents, cleaning agents, catalysts, and for several other functions. These are normally classified according to the risk they pose to health and property, which be able to categorized as 1. Flammable or explosive, such as petroleum TNT and plastic explosives. 2. Irritating or corrosive to skin and eyes, such as acids, alkali, paints, and fumes. 3. Toxic chemicals, such as carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, cyanide. Which is extreme cautions are to be taken when handling, storing, transporting, and using hazardous chemicals. The user needs to wear protective clothing and personal protective equipment to protect themselves from hazardous chemicals. Depending on the chemicals, this might involve rubber gloves, safety goggles, chemical-resistant coveralls.
The employer shall arrange measures for administration and management of occupational safety, health and environment in relation to hazardous chemicals as follows. Hazardous chemical safety information. Employers in possession of hazardous chemicals are required to maintain a list of hazardous chemicals and details of the safety data of hazardous chemicals in accordance with the form prescribed by the Director General, together with notify the Director General within 7 from the date of the possession of hazardous chemicals. Within January of each year, the employer must notify the list of hazardous chemicals and details information on the safety of hazardous chemicals in possession to the Director General or the person assigned by the Director General. Employers must notify workers and explain safety information to workers. Dangerous chemicals in the possession of the employer. Text and marks that appear in the document manual, label, mark or related information, including other information as prescribed in this ministerial regulation. The employer shall arrange for employees who work with hazardous chemicals to know and understand how to correct and safe operation, including having to provide control measures for employees to comply with such methods. In this regard, employers are required to prepare manuals, procedures for working with hazardous chemicals. Advice for employees about hazard prevention, meaning of information on labels and data sheets, safety of hazardous chemicals. Employees must follow correct and safe working methods according to the operating manual prepared by the employer, and when there is an emergency involving hazardous chemicals, employees must notify the supervisor immediately. Label and warning sign. The employer shall arrange for the labeling in Thai language to be sufficiently large and easy to read. Durable in packaging, containers or protective materials for hazardous chemicals, and at least that label must have details about the following items. Product name. Hazardous substances. Pictograms. Signal words. Hazard statements. Precautionary statements. Risk assessment. Employers are required to conduct health risk assessments for employees of hazardous chemicals according to the rules and procedures prescribed by the Director General and prepare a report on the results of that assessment, then submit to the Director General within 15 days from the date of acknowledgement of the assessment result. In cases where the health risk assessment results of employees are at a level that may cause harm, the employer has to rectify and improve it to a safe level, and the employer shall use the assessment results to plan health checkups for employees. Protection and control system. The employer must provide a protection and control system to avoid the concentration of hazardous chemicals, atmosphere, and the storage of hazardous chemicals as prescribed by the Director General. To measure and analyze the concentration of hazardous chemicals in the atmosphere of the workplace, the measurement reports shall submit to the Director General within 15 from the date of acknowledgement measurement results. In case the concentration of hazardous chemicals in the atmosphere of the workplace, or the hazardous chemical storage place has the concentration in excess of limit prescribed by the Director General announcement, employers shall use measures for the elimination or control of hazardous chemicals to reduce the concentration of hazardous chemicals to not exceed the specified value and must have appropriate measures to protect persons. Prepare work practices and procedures. The employer shall prepare a manual on work practices and procedures for working with hazardous chemicals, and distribute it to employees to study to understand before working. The measures for administration and management regarding to electricity. The employer shall provide the electrical circuit diagram at the workplace, and all activities should be certified by engineer. If there are any changes from the original, must be taken corrective action to the plan is correct. Warning and tag. The employer shall provide a sign board with letters or symbols warning to be careful of danger from electricity, that is clearly visible, installed openly in an area that may be dangerous from electric current. It shall be in accordance with the prescribed in the industrial product standards. For warning tag with captions should be contain of the following subject. Procedures when encountering danger from electricity. First aid and basic life support resuscitation methods. Electrical equipment installation. The employer shall arrange a key to prevent switching to prevent the switch from connecting the circuit when employees working on electricity, installation, inspection, repair, or maintenance of electrical systems. Lightning protection system. The employer shall provide a lightning protection system according to the Engineering Institute of Thailand or standards of the National Fire Protection Association United States, National Fire Protection Association, or International Electrotechnical Commission. Other standards as announced by the Director General. Personal protective equipment and electrical safety equipment. The employer shall provide personal protective equipment suitable for the work such as leather gloves, rubber sleeves, safety helmets, rubber soles. Employees who work on electricity must wear PPE all the time while working, to prevent electrical hazards that are suitable for work. For the personal protective equipment and electrical hazard protection equipment must meet the specified standards and must have the qualifications as follow. Personal protective equipment and electrical protection equipment must be suitable for the highest voltage in the work area. Electrical protective rubber gloves must be worn on all fingers. Leather gloves that are worn over rubber gloves, it must cover the length of the wrist and have good tear resistance. Employers shall maintain personal protective equipment and electrical hazards protective equipment to be in a safe working condition, including having to check and test it according to the standards and methods specified by the manufacturer. Training. The employer shall arrange training course for employees who work on electricity to have knowledge, understanding and skills necessary to work safely in accordance with the assigned duties in accordance with the rules, procedures and conditions. Electrical equipment maintenance. The employer shall maintain electrical equipment and to be used safely. If found any damaged or there is a leakage that may cause harm to the user, the employer shall repair it to good condition to be used safely. The measures for administration and management of heat, light and noise. The measures regarding to heat. The employer shall control and maintain the heat level within the workplace in which employees are working not to exceed the standard as follows. Work characterized as a light work shall have the average heat level of not exceeding 34 degrees Celsius. Work characterized as a medium work shall have the average heat level of not exceeding 32 degrees Celsius. Work characterized as a heavy work shall have the average heat level of not exceeding 30 degrees Celsius. In case the heat level inside the workplace exceeds the standard as defined, the employer shall improve or correct the working conditions to ensure that the heat level shall not exceed the defined standard. If working conditions is not successful, the employer shall post a warning notice to inform the employees to realize that in such area it may be hazardous to employees' health. And the employer shall arrange for the employees to wear personal protective equipment. The measures regarding to light and illumination. The employer shall provide the intensity of light at the workplace. That shall be not lower than the standard as prescribed in Director General announcement. An employer shall use or provide a light filter film, or other appropriate measures to prevent direct light from the intense light source or the sun direct to the employee's eyes in the course working. In case an employee need to work in a dark, opaque place, such as in a cave, tunnel, the employer shall arrange the employee to wear a safety hat equipped with lighting device, or provide other lighting devices suitable for condition of work. The measures regarding to noise. An employer shall control the time-weighted average of noise level. That received by an employee not to exceed the standard. In case of the working conditions in the workplace have the average noise level. That received by the employee during the 8-hour working period. It shall be not over than 85 decibels. In the area of the workplace having an impact or an impulse noise level exceeding 140 decibel A, or the accumulated volume of the impact or impulse noise exceeding the standard as prescribed. The employer shall instruct the employee to stop working until the noise level is improved. Personal protective equipment. The employer shall provide personal protective equipment suitable for work. And employees must wear PPE all the time while working to prevent hazards of heat, light, and noise. Personal protective equipment shall be of standard as follows. 1. Clothes, socks, and gloves for heat protection shall be made of light-weighted material capable of heat resistance from the thermal source to prevent the body temperature from exceeding 38 degrees Celsius. 2. Safety hat shall be in accordance with the industrial product standard. The safety hat equipped with lighting accessories shall have a gadget that projects the light forwards with light intensity within 3 meters range, not less than 20 lux, attached to the hat. 3. Safety glasses shall be made of material capable of reducing the glare of light to a level that is not harmful to the eyesight. The frame of the glasses shall be of light weight with the soft shield. 4. Face shield shall be made of colored material capable of reducing the glare of light to a level not harmful to the eyesight. The frame of the shield shall be of light weight and is not easily flammable. 5. Ear plugs shall be made of soft material to be plugged into both ears, and can reduce the noise to not less than 15 decibel. 6. Earmuffs shall be made of soft material used to cover both ears and can reduce the noise level to not less than 25 decibel. The employer shall manage to have methods of selecting and using personal protective equipment by providing a training on the methods of using and maintaining of personal protective equipment, as well as the usage rules, which shall be prepared systematically, and open always during working hours for review by a labor inspector. Measurement and working conditions. An employer shall conduct measurement and analysis of working conditions in relation to heat, light, or noise within the workplace. The criteria and method of the operation pursuant to a period, and a category of business to be carried out, shall be in accordance with the announcement issued by the Director General. Health checkup and report. An employer shall keep for the health checkup report at the workplace pursuant and according to the form as prescribed in the announcement by the Director General for at least 5 years for inspection by a labor inspector. In the working condition that may be harmful from heat, light, and noise, from work of an employee is detected, the employer shall arrange immediate medical treatment for the affected employee, inspect and investigate the causes as well as forward the results of health checkup of the abnormal to the provision of medical treatment and the preventative remedies, to a labor inspector. If any employee has medical evidence issued by a hospital reporting that an employee is not able to work in the same duty, the employer shall change the job for such employee as to be deemed appropriate to health and safety of the employee. The Ministerial Regulation of Standard for Administration and Management in Confined Space. Confined space means a place which has limited area of entrance and exit, with insufficient ventilation that could not produce hygienic and safe conditions such as in a tunnel, cave, pit, underground room, safe room, fuel tank, fermented tank, silo, pipe, furnace, container, or other objects of similar characteristics. Hazardous atmosphere means an air condition in which an employee may be exposed to danger, due to one or more of the following conditions. 1. Existence of oxygen at a concentration in lower than 19.5%, or in excess of 23.5% by volume. 2. Existence of flammable or explosive gas, vapor, at concentration, in excess of 10% of its lower flammable limit, or lower explosive limit in the air. 3. Existence of flammable or explosive dust, at a concentration equal to or in excess of its lower flammable limit, or lower explosive limit in the air. 4. Existence of any chemicals at a concentration, in excess of the standard prescribed by the ministerial regulation in relation to hazardous chemicals. 5. Any other condition which may be harmful to physical, or life. Hazardous condition means a condition or condition that may cause an employee to be harmed from any work including, such as: there are objects or materials that may cause employees to sink or pile up on employees who go to work. There is a condition that could cause the employee to be dropped, trapped, or trapped inside. Employees are at risk of being harmed by the hazardous atmosphere. Any other condition that may be dangerous. The employer shall arrange measures for relation to confined space, such as: general requirement. The employer shall provide a signboard with the text inscribing, confined space, or danger, or do not enter. The signboard shall be in conspicuous size and installed openly at the entrance and exit of every confined space. The employer shall not permit employee or any person to enter the confined space, unless the employer has provided the safety in according to this ministerial regulation, and such employee has been permitted by the person who is responsible for granting permission. The employer shall not permit the employee to enter the confined space, when the employer has been aware that such employee has been affected with respiratory disease, heart disease, or other diseases, that may be harmful to enter the confined space. Safety measures. The employer shall provide a measurement, a record of the measurement, and the assessment of the air condition in the confined space, to determine whether the atmosphere is hazardous or not, that must be conducted before allowing an employee to enter, and during working in the confined space. Then keep result record of measurement, assessment for inspection by the labor inspector. Where the hazardous atmosphere is detected, the employer shall take the following actions. 1. Remove the employees in the confined space from such area immediately. 2. Assess and find out the causes of the hazardous atmosphere. 3. Manage to make the air condition in that confined space free from a hazardous atmosphere such as ventilation or other measures. In case the hazardous atmosphere remains in confined space, but the employer need to allow an employee to enter the confined space, the employer shall arrange for the employees to use personal protective equipment to work in that confined space with safety. And provide a personal protective equipment, assisting equipment and rescue equipment appropriate for the characteristics of the work, in accordance with the standard. In case the employer requires the employee to work in confined space, the employer shall appoint an employees who are knowledgeable, capable and trained on occupational safety in confined space, to be a supervisor take the duties such as: to formulate an action and prevention plan against a danger which may arise from work. To explain the duties, responsibilities, method of work and method of safety protection to be in accordance with the plan. To supervise the employee in using personal protective equipment and in inspecting to be in good condition for using. To order temporary stoppage of work in case of there is cause which may be harmful to employees. Permit to work. The employer shall be responsible for granting permission to employees to work in the confined space. In this regard, the employer may authorize in writing employee who have trained on occupational safety in the confined space, to be the person responsible for granting permission on his behalf. And keep the letter of authorization at the workplace available for inspection by a labor inspector. The employer shall provide a work permit to employee in every time of working in the confined space. And shall post a copy of work permit letter at the entrance and exit of the confined space. And keep the confined space work permit at the establishment available for inspection by the labor inspector. Training. The employer shall arrange a training on occupational safety in confined space for all employees who perform work in confined space, including concerned persons, to having knowledge, understanding and skills necessary for safe working, and keep the evidence of training on occupational safety in the confined space available for inspection by labor inspector. The Ministerial Regulation of Standard for Administration and Management in Diving Work. Diving work means the work which is done underwater by diving. Diver means an employee who is skilled in diving work. Head of diver means a diver who is assigned by an employer to carry out all planning and supervising all diving works. Diver escort means the diver whose duty is to take care for and give assistance to the diver in performing the diving work. Ready to dive diver means the diver who is with readiness to dive and to help other divers who are performing the work underwater immediately in case of emergency. Controller of air supply and communications means the diver who is in charge of controlling of air supply system and communications with divers who are performing diving work. For this ministerial regulation, apply to the waterworks performed in deep water 10 feet up, but not more than 300 feet. If an employer wants an employee to do diving work at any location or to change the place of diving work, the safety inspector in the responsible area must be notified of that location at least 7 days in advance prior to work. Employers are required to arrange for workers to regular medical examinations and prepare an employee health checkup card in accordance with the rules prescribed by the Director General. Safety measures for diving work. Employers shall provide first aid and 100% oxygen with respirator mask to help employees who work throughout the period of the operation. An employee who does work may refuse to work at any time. If you see that the practice that time may cause danger to one's life, body, or health. Additionally, the workers must be skilled through training, qualification and experience as follow. 1. Understanding diving physics. 2. Using, inspecting, and maintaining diving equipment. 3. Using decompression. 4. Planning dives. 5. Communicating with other divers and people on the surface while diving. 6. General diving work. 7. Diving physiology, emergency procedures, and first aid. Diving equipment. The appropriate diving equipment shall be provided by employers such as buoyancy control device, a regulator, mask, snorkel, wetsuit, defog, fins and booties, surface marker buoy, dive weight, if local diving, diving knife, surface marker buoy, dive light, tank bangers, compass, writing slates, first aid kit. The Ministerial Regulation of Standard for Administration and Management in relation to fire prevention and control. The employer shall provide a fire prevention and extinguishing system in the workplace according to this ministerial regulation and must supervise of the fire prevention and extinguishing system to be in a ready-to-use condition. In an establishment with 10 or more employees, the employer shall prepare a fire prevention and extinguishing plan. It shall be consisting of surveillance, training, campaigning fire prevention, fire fighting, fire evacuation and relief plan, including arrange measures for administration and management of fire prevention control as follows. Fire protection system and fire escape routes. The employer shall provide at least 2 fire escape routes for each floor of the building, which can safely evacuate all concurrent workers to a safe location in less than 5 minutes. An establishment with 2 or more floors of a building, or have area from 300 square meters or more, the employer shall provide a fire alarm system in every floor. The employer shall provide sufficient lighting for fire escape routes to evacuate employees leaving the building, including providing a backup power supply that can supply electricity for fire escape use with primary fire extinguishing equipment immediately in case of a power outage. Fire fighting. The employer shall provide a fire extinguishing system and equipment for use in extinguishing the fire that can adequately extinguish primary fires. All building area at least consist of as follow. Prepare a reserve of water for use in extinguishing the fire with amount of reserved water as specified in ministerial regulation. Water delivery system, water storage, and fire pump must be reviewed and certified by a legal engineer. Arrange for maintenance and inspection of fire fighting equipment. To ensure that they are in good working condition, the inspection shall not be less than once a month or at the intervals specified by the manufacturer, and collect inspection results for safety inspectors to always review. Flammable and explosive materials management. If the employer has stores or transports flammable or explosive materials, it must, in order to prevent the occurrence of fire, in accordance with the safety law about hazardous chemicals. For the portable storage for liquid gas, the employer shall action as follows. 1. In the case of storing gas cylinders outside the building, must be stored in an open area, heat-protected area. To don't have a temperature higher than the manufacturer specified, and there is measures to prevention damage that will occur from vehicles or other things. 2. Do not store gas cylinders near flammable materials. 3. There is a chain or other fastening the tank, to prevent it from falling over, and install the cylinder head cover for safety while moving. Fire safety actions and reports. The employer shall provide employees of not less than 40% of the number of all employees in each work unit of establishments to receiving basic firefighting training by the Department of Welfare and Labor Protection is the training provider. Additionally, the employer shall arrange for the actions regarding fire safety such as 1. The establishments with severe or intermediate rate fire risks must be managed by a fire prevention and extinguishing action group. 2. Employee who responsible for fire prevention and suppression shall be provided with training in prevention and fire suppression, use of fire fighting equipment, first aid, and emergency rescue. 3. The employer shall arrange for all employees to practice fire fighting training at least simultaneously once a year. The Ministerial Regulation of Standard for the Center of Basic Firefighting Training and the Institute of Firefighting and Fire Evacuation Practice. As we know that, the employers shall arrange for all employees to practice fire fighting and fire evacuation together at least once a year, which the Department of Welfare and Labor Protection is the training provider. Which, the report of practice fire fighting and fire evacuation, is in accordance with the report form, as prescribed and notified by the Director General. For the Section 14. For the Section 14 would be described to, in the case where an employer requires an employee to work in a working condition or environment, which may be harmful to life, physique, mentality, and health of the employee. For this case, the employer shall notify the employee of the danger, which may arise from work, and shall distribute work manual to every employee, before commencing working. For Section 16. For the Section 16 would be described to, an employer shall provide an occupational safety, health and environment training in order to safely administer, manage and execute the occupational safety, health and environment, for executive employees, supervisors and all employees. In the case of employees joining a new job, changes the work responsibility, workplace, or machinery or equipment, which may harm the life, physique, mentality, and health of the employees, the employer shall provide a training for every employee before commencing work. The training shall be in conformity with the criteria, methods, or conditions, as prescribed by the Director General as follow. There is a training period of 12 hours for executive-level employees. There is a training period of 12 hours for supervisor-level employees. There is a training period of 6 hours for general employees and new employees. There is a training period of 3 hours for employees who change jobs, change workplace, or change machinery. For Section 17. For the Section 17, an employer shall post warning symbols and occupational safety, health and environment related signs, including the statement on rights and duties of the employer and the employees, as prescribed by the Director General, in a conspicuous location at the establishment. Which the employer shall post danger warning symbols and safety signs, to suit with environment conditions, in a visible location at the workplace. Section 18. For Section 18, in the case where there are multiple establishments at the premises, every employer of the establishments at such premises shall have the duty to collaborate in the execution of occupational safety, health and environment, in conformity with this ministerial regulation. Additionally, employees working in the establishment, including employees working in other establishments not belonging to the employer, shall also comply with the criteria on occupational safety, health and environment, applied to such establishment. Section 21. For Section 21, the employees shall have the duty to supervise the working environment in accordance with the standards as prescribed in the ministerial regulations, in order to bring safety to life, physique, mentality and health, considering the conditions of the work and responsible areas. In the case where an employee is aware of a defect or damage and unable to rectify it by himself, the employee shall inform the safety officer or a supervisor, and such safety officer and supervisor shall notify the employer in writing as soon as possible. In the case where the supervisor is aware of a defect or damage, which may be harmful to life, physique, mentality, and health of the employees, the supervisor shall immediately take an action to prevent such harm, within the area of his responsibility or the scope assigned to him. In case the action cannot be taken, the supervisor shall inform the executive or the employer to resolve the issues as soon as possible. Section 22. For Section 22, an employer shall provide the employees with and require them to wear personal safety protection equipment in accordance with the standards prescribed and notified by the Director General. Which the employees shall have the duty to wear the personal protection equipment in accordance with the condition of the work throughout the working period. In the case where the employee fails to wear personal protection equipment, the employer shall order that employee to stop working until the employee wears such personal protection equipment. Section 74. For Section 74, during the period in which no ministerial regulations of this Act have been issued, the ministerial regulations that issued under Chapter 8 of the Labor Protection is still in effect under Section 74, including as follow. 1. Ministerial regulation on the prescribing of standard for administration and management of in relation to ionizing radiation. 2. Ministerial regulation on the prescribing of criteria and method of conducting health checkup of employees and forwarding the results of health checkup to labor inspectors. 3. Ministerial regulation for the administration and management of occupational safety, health, and environment. 4. Ministerial regulation on the prescribing of the standard for administration and management of occupational safety, health, and environment for construction work. 5. Ministerial regulation on administration and management of the aspect of occupational safety and health and working environment relating to machines, cranes and boilers. 6. Ministerial regulation on the prescribing of standard for administration and management of occupational safety, health and environment, number 2. Personal protective equipment. As we know, the personal protective equipment are products that the user can wear to be protected against risks at work, which statistics on fatal and major work accidents underline the importance of protection and prevention, which personal protective equipment plays an important role. In generally, the standards for personal protective equipment are include as follow. International Organization for Standardization. European Standards. Standard Australia and Standard New Zealand. American National Standards Institute. Japanese Industrial Standards. National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. Occupational Safety and Health Administration. National Fire Protection Association. The Ministerial Regulation of Standard for Administration and Management, relation to ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiation is energy in the form of electromagnetic wave or any particle of radiation, which may cause ionization either directly or indirectly in its passage medium, such as alpha rays, beta rays, gamma rays, X-rays, neutron particles, electron at high speed, or proton at high speed, etc. Source is any material which emanates radiation by disintegration of nucleus or can cause radiation by other means irrespective of the source, either of the sealed or the unsealed type. Unsealed source is the unsealed, uncontained, or covered permanently in the sealed, strong cover or covering materials in the radioactive source sufficiently durable to prevent leakage, flux, spilling, dropping, or splashing of radioactive substances. Control and prevention of danger. The employer who produces or possesses a radioactive source shall report to the Director General, within 7 days from the date of production and possession, about the amount and degree of radiation power of the radioactive source. In case changing the amount or degree of the radioactive source, which is not the change of radioactive substance by natural decay, the employer shall report such change to the Director General, within 15 days from the date of change. The employer shall manage and control area by setting up a fence, enclosure, or the boundary line, including to build up a signboard with the text, "No entry" or "Dangerous radiation," at least in Thai language in black letters on a yellow background, then have it displayed clearly in such area. Any employee without duty to perform the radiation-based work shall not be permitted to access into the control area, unless duly authorized by the employer. The employer shall provide an equipment that reduce the amount of radiation at the source, and shall arrange the measures to prevent employees working in the control area. For the employees who responsible for radiation technique shall have one of the following qualifications. 1. Holds not lower than bachelor degree or equivalent in science, with at least 3 credits of the subject on radiation danger prevention and completion of its examination. 2. Undergone a training course on radiation danger prevention, and completion of its examination provided by the Office of Atoms for Peace, Ministry of Science and Technology, or other institutes recognized by the Department of Labor Protection. Sign, labels and danger warning signals. The employer shall manage to have danger warning sign clearly and visibly posted in the area of radiation, in the area of high radiation, in the area of radioactive substance, any rooms in which radioactive substances are stored. And arrange labels containing sign and texts of danger warning, posted on containers used for or as covering material for radioactive substance according to the format defined by the Director General. Notification and report of incident. In case of damage, defect, cracks or loss of the radioactive sources, which may cause leakage of emergency radiation incident, which may cause hazards, illness or death of an employee, the employer shall notify the mentioned incident to the Director General as soon as possible. Which, notification of incident by the employer shall be made either by facsimile transmission of text, or by telephone. In case of inconvenience to do so, the notification may be made by other means to pass the message as soon as possible. Personal safety protection. The employer shall provide personal protective equipment, such as helmet, fabric glove or rubber glove, a pair of shoes, cloak made of cotton or rubber, goggle, air filter, breathing apparatus, or other necessary equipment with properties capable of protecting against the radiation to enter the body to be used, or worn by the employee throughout working hours, in relation to the source of unsealed radiation according to the condition and characteristics of work. Training. The employer shall provide training to employees who working in relation to radiation, to enhance their understanding and awareness of danger, and method to prevent danger from radiation, before resuming the duty according to the criteria as prescribed by the Director General. The Ministerial Regulation of the Standard for Administration and Management for Construction Work. For the Standard for Administration and Management for Construction Work, there are consist of 15 categories as follow. 1. General work. 2. Construction area. 3. Electrical work and fire protection work. 4. Drilling and mining. 5. Construction work with piles and walls. 6. Steel support. 7. Machinery and crane. 8. Temporary material handling elevators and temporary passenger elevators. 9. Wire ropes and pulleys. 10. High-level temporary corridor. 11. Work at height. 12. Tunnel work. 13. Construction work in the water. 14. Demolition work. 15. Protection of personal safety. Construction work is the operation concerning the construction of all structures, such as buildings, airports, railways, tramways, roads, tunnels, piers, docks, beams, piers, bridges, waterways, water supply, fences, walls, gates, the termination of the vehicle and includes additions, repair, maintenance, modification, or demolition. General requirement of construction work. The employer shall arrange the construction site area to be stable and strong, which can support the weight of machinery and equipment to be safely. The employer shall arrange for a supervisor to inspect safety in every step of the work. The employer shall provide sufficient emergency lighting in the construction area for use during power outages. Employers shall provide training to employees on work, such as the use of machinery various signal. Electrical and fire protection work. Electrical and fire protection work, which is regarding to the installation and electrical system supply in the construction area, the employer shall provide a schematic diagram of the electrical circuit, which is certified by an engineer, and the employer shall keep the plan for the labor inspector to always inspect, including a range engineer to supervise the installation and operation to meet the standards of the Engineering Institute of Thailand. The construction of a building, with a height of 15 meters, or total area of every floor exceeding 2,000 square meters, the employer must provide a fire alarm system that can be heard throughout the building. Drilling and mining work. For the general requirement of drilling and mining work or excavating holes, pits, ditches, and similar works, where there is a danger of falling, the employer shall provide a metal sheet, or other strong material, to cover the area and arrange a wooden fence, or metal fence to a round area. Pile work. The employer shall arrange an engineer to supervise the weight-bearing test of the pile, as well as the method, procedure, and equipment in the test are examined, such as jacks, gauges, and anchor piles, loading platform, beam. By showing a list of all equipment strength calculations to carry the testing safely, including provide a sign clearly indicating the area where the weight of the pile is tested and prevent other persons entering that area. Machinery. The employer shall supervise all machinery and equipment used in the construction work to be a safe working condition, according to annual certification examination, based on types and categories as prescribed by the Director General. In the event of a malfunction of machinery or equipment, it may cause danger. The employer shall arrange repairs immediately and prohibit employees from using that equipment. Crane. The employer who uses the crane shall comply with the specifications of the crane and the instruction manual specified by the crane manufacturer. In assembling, testing, maintaining and inspecting the crane, the employer shall also comply with the details, characteristics, and instruction manual. The employer shall provide a warning sign or tag to indicating the weight limit and post it on the crane to clearly visible for the crane operator. The employer shall provide signals for the use of cranes that are understandable among the involved parties while crane working. Temporary elevators. In assembling, installing, testing, operation, maintenance and inspecting the elevator, the employer shall comply with the specifications of each type of elevator and the instruction manual prescribed by the lift manufacturer. If there is no description of such features or instruction manual, the employer shall comply with the specification details or the manual that the engineer has set up in writing, including to post a sign showing the maximum load for the temporary elevators for materials and the sign to indicating the maximum load and number of passengers for the temporary passenger elevators clearly inside and outside. Wire ropes and pulleys. The employer shall arrange a daily inspection of the hoist's readiness. If any part is damaged, it must be repaired before use. Then inspection result document must be available for review by the safety inspector. The employer shall provide preventive measures and clearly signs prohibiting the use of hoist by persons involved during hoist testing, maintenance, and inspection. In case of a hoist with a lifting capacity 1 ton or more, the employer shall arrange test of the hoist's components and equipment at least once a year. Then the test result document shall be provided to the safety inspector. Ministerial Regulation on Administration and Management Standards, relation to the machine, crane, and boiler. The regulation standardizes operations with machines, cranes, and boilers in order to improve the safety at workplace, which consisted of 4 chapters as following. Chapter 1, Machines, which consist of 7 parts as including Part 1, General Provision. Part 2, press machine. Part 3, electric welding machine and gas welding machine. Part 4, forklift. Part 5, lift. Part 6, machine for lifting perron to work at height. Part 7, pulleys. Chapter 2, crane. Which consist of 5 parts as including. Part 1, general provision. Part 2, overhead crane. Part 3, tower crane. Part 4, mobile crane. Part 5, devices related to crane. Chapter 3, boiler, thermal fluid heater, pressure vessel, and compressed gas cylinder. Which consist of 5 parts as including. Part 1, general provision. Part 2, boiler. Part 3, thermal fluid heater. Part 4, pressure vessel. Part 5, compressed gas cylinder. Chapter 4, personal safety protection. Compressed gas cylinder is defined as a seamless pressure vessel, with capacity ranging from 0.5 liters to 150 liters. And non-seamless pressure vessel, with capacity ranging from 0.5 liters to 150 liters. Excluding a vessel for liquefied petroleum gas, compressed natural gas, and liquefied natural gas. Requirements for the employer. The employer shall manage the environment at the workplace of the place, not to be harmful against the health and safety of employees. Which the employer is responsible for ensuring that a machine operating employee comply with the follow guidelines. 1. Wear neat and fitted clothes. 2. Do not wear jewelry. 3. Gather excessively long hair or do something else with it to keep it safe. The employer shall comply the follow guidelines. Prepare operating instructions. Ensure that the machine operating employee checks whether the machine is in good condition and safe before use. Provide a hazard assessment of any machine that may danger from use to dismemberment, such as crushing machines, milling machines, ice cutting machines, band saws, circular saws, chainsaws, or other machines. Operate machines, electric welding machines, gas welding machines, or other machines. The employer must hire individuals who have been trained by the experienced trainers. Provide, maintain, and repair the protective device or personal protective equipment in a good functioning condition. In case of the worker who work on metal stamping machine, electric welding machine, gas welding machines, forklifts, or machinery that may cause danger, the employer shall maintain and supervise the equipment to prevent danger from the machine, in a condition that can prevent danger such as 1. Install cover guard at rotating part, or dangerous part of machine. 2. Install limit sensor switch, to immediately stop for metal stamping machines when worker gets close to dangerous point. 3. Install fence or handrail, to prevent worker from entering potentially dangerous areas.
In case of the worker who work on electric welding machine and gas welding machine, which the employer shall comply with the measure as following. Provide a portable fire extinguisher to installed at working area that can be used immediately. Provide the personal protective equipment for all of employees. Keep the work area free from flammable materials. Provide a partition or other protective equipment suitable to prevent sparks.
Forklift. In case of the worker who work on forklift, which the employer shall comply with the measure as following. Provide a strong and stable roof structure of forklift that can prevent danger from falling material. Arrange the signals to indicating the coordinates of the forklift that ability to lifting safely. Inspect the forklift to be in a safe working condition before use and maintain the inspection results for the labor inspector to review. Provide sound or lighting alarms as appropriate for while working. Elevator. The employer shall comply with the measure regarding to elevator as following. Prepare work instructions manual to explaining the operation step of the elevator and asking for help if somebody is stuck in the elevator. Provide work instructions for recusing, keep in the mechanical room and the elevator operator's room. Provide a prohibition or warning on using the elevator to post it at the door outside of the elevator. Arrange for a daily inspection of the elevator before use. If there is damage, it must be repaired completely before using again. Provide measures to prevent danger, and put prohibiting tag at elevators that make it clearly visible to those involved during maintenance, inspection, or testing of the elevator. Crane. The employer shall comply with the measure regarding crane as following. The employer shall arrange a test and inspection of the crane, according to the details as specified by the Council of Engineers, and prepare the inspection result reports, keep at the establishment. In case of the crane has been stopped more than 6 months, then before being used, the employer must arrange a testing and inspection, according to the details specified by the Council of Engineers, and prepare the inspection result reports, keep at the establishment. The employer shall arrange a testing of the crane components and equipment, at least once a year. Boiler. The employer shall comply with the following. The employer shall provide boiler and accessories, with qualifications in accordance with industrial product standards, such as ISO, ASME, JIS, DIN, TRD, BS, EN, or other standards specified by the Director General. The employer shall provide boiler instruction manual, and problem-solving instruction, posted it to the area, where employees be able to see clearly. The employer shall arrange a boiler operator, with specific qualifications, such as having completed a boiler operator training course, which certified by a government institute, state enterprise, or as prescribed by the Director General. The Ministerial Regulation on Criteria and Method of Conducting Health Checkup for Employees and Forwarding Health Checkup Result to Labor Inspectors. Health checkup is the physical and mental states checkup, according to medical method, as to ascertain the suitability of and the work-related effects on health of the employees. Risk factor-related work is the work which the employee performs in relation to hazardous chemical substances, as prescribed in the announced of the Minister. Toxic microbe, which may be a virus, bacteria, fungus or other biological organisms, as prescribed in the announced of the Minister. Radioactivity. Heat, cold, vibration, atmospheric pressure, light, noise, or other environments, which may be hazardous for employees. Health checkup. For the employees who work with risk factors, the employer shall provide health checkup, to be conducted by a licensed medical practitioner, who is specialized in occupational medicine, or who has undergone a training on occupational medicine. By completing the first health checkup for employees, within 30 days from the first day the employee is employed, and the subsequent health checkup shall be conducted at least once a year. In case the characteristics, or the condition of work is related to risk factors, and needs health checkup in different period, the employer shall avail health checkup, for the employees according to such period. In case the employer changes the employee's dangerous job to be a different one, the employer shall provide health checkup for such employees within 30 days from the date of the job change. Recording, reporting and forwarding the results of health checkup. For the purpose of health checkup of the employee, the medical practitioner who conducts a health checkup shall record the results of health checkup by indicating the practitioner's explanation of the employee that may affect to the characteristics of the employee, together with the signature of the doctor, on the date of the checkup such medical explanation. That is all about basic safety law. We hope you will get benefit from this training course more or less to apply your knowledge received today to actively cooperate with the employer to work safely. Thank you for your attention, enjoy your day and stay safe.